Thank you very much. All right. Oh, there it is. Okay. Thanks, everyone. So, I'm very happy to be here. We're going to be the smallest company of the group in terms of market cap, not in terms of potential, but in terms of market cap. So just keep that in mind when you think about the massive upside in the silver space as I go forward and talk about our assets and our opportunity. We made a decision very early on when we went public. We weren't going to be, sort of just another company that's going to just perpetually drill and put out studies. We acquired the Bethania silver mine with the idea of putting it back into production. It's a mine that's recently been in production and has very high grade silver and lots of great exploration potential. That was the thesis back in 2020. It's still the thesis today. We've proven out a lot of that thesis. We've been slowed down by the terrible markets that we've had, especially in the last couple of years. But we're now in the position where we can move it forward and get it into production. And we're basically underground right now, starting the underground development process to get it into production in the next few months. So it's a very exciting time for Kuya, kind of a unique time in the life span of a junior. The fact that we will have production later this year, and I'll talk more about that shortly. We do have a second project in Northern Ontario as well. We made a huge discovery, one of the highest grade silver intersections in the entire world last year, probably in several years actually. And we've done some additional work on Silver King since then, and I'll talk about that as well. It's further back in our pipeline. We're putting Bethania into production first, and then I see Silver Kings as kind of something that would go into production a few years later after we do more work on it. So we really like to emphasize the fact that our shareholders have a lot of ways to win with Kuya. We do have great exploration story. I would stack ours up with any of the other companies here today or not here in the silver space. But we do have the development pipeline as well. And that's a big advantage. Very few companies have, even an inkling of going into production in the foreseeable future. So we're very happy to have a project that isn't under our control that's going into production now. The last few years we've been sort of ticking these boxes. We've gotten permits. We've gotten financing. We've gotten sort of all the necessary things, and now is where the rubber hits the road. So the Bethania mine is located in central Peru. It's in my opinion, the best part of Peru for mining. It's a beautiful country. It's a big country. It's very diverse from north to south, east to west. And just up in the mountains here east of Lima, in central Peru, you've got a belt of lead, zinc, silver mines of various shapes and sizes, some gold and copper in there as well. And we're right in the thick of that belt. We're near the city of Huancayo as well. It's a 3 to 4 hour drive from the mine, and it's a city of 500,000 people. So in terms of infrastructure, access to people, we're in the perfect spot. We're not like right by a big city, but we're close enough that we can have all the benefits. Here's the Bethania district as we've consolidated it now over the past 4 or 5 years or so. When we started, let's see if this pointer works. Nope. Oh, I went back. I got it. Yeah, so when we started, we had just this pink rectangle here. That's actually the mining concession. That's where the Bethania mine is located. And keep in mind, as I start talking about exploration, only about a third of that has been explored or mined. So we started with that. We've gradually put together a much larger land package over the years, including a few other mines here, artisanal mines that we've added, and we've done a lot of work on since ourselves to prove that there's silver there. And so now we have this whole district. The red stars, by the way, are other prospects that we haven't done enough work on yet to move them up to the sort of yellow category, but we're working on those this year. So we're going to have many targets. to grow the Bethania project. It's really gone from a mine scale project to a district scale project, and I'll talk more about that shortly. But before I get into the exploration, the mining side, our model, I guess we jump around a little bit here. Our resource model is here. We really did our drill program when we started back in 2021 so that we could mine it. We didn't do a drill program for exploration's sake. We did very little what I would call exploration here. We really just drilled around the mine workings so we could get a resource model in 3D block models so that we can start mining, and that's what we did. We were very successful. We got a lot more tonnage than we expected or that we thought when we bought the mine. But nevertheless, there's still way more exploration to do here. Here's our current resource. If you add the inferred and indicated together, which we're not allowed to do, you get about 14 million ounces, 10 of which is actually real silver. So this is a true silver deposit as well. That's something to keep in mind, is if you're bullish on silver. Very few of the companies that have silver in their name actually have a silver dominant primary deposit that we do. We've got 3 main structures there. They're all open at depth and along strike. They all branch off and create a lot of other veins to mine as well, especially as you get closer to surface and move along strike there. So, and then they kind of look like they're coalescing at depth into larger, higher grade structures. That's what we're seeing in the limited drilling that we've done so far. We've decided for getting into production, we're going to toll mill. Even though we permitted a brand new 350-ton plant to be built at site, we've decided to defer that for the next few years. Actually, the permit, our site is actually in that blue square there. We've decided to defer that for now. So we don't have to, finance and dilute the company, and we can get into production. The nearest mill to us is here on this map, about 20 kilometers away. There's several others that we've talked to as well, a little further away, and we've even announced one earlier in 2023 that we had access to. So that's the plan is to start toll milling, and it really doesn't add that much to the cost. So it looks like for us a very, very good option. Okay, so summarizing the production story here, we're doing the development right now in the next, let's say, 3 months to start production. And then what we'll do is we'll start ramping up towards a total of 350 tons per day. That's what we're permitted to do. I'm sure, or we plan, as soon as we reach that, we'll start permitting an expansion. But that gives us some time to ramp that up. We believe we'll be making money pretty much the entire time. We'll turn profitable in the first few months of production. And once we get into full production, which would be mid-2025, this mine should be spitting off quite a lot of cash flow in the order of 7 figures a month. This isn't there. There we go. Okay. So I won't spend a lot of time on this, but this is all on our website. These numbers. We do have a PEA that we put out in 22 and updated in 23. The PEA, however, assumes we build the plant, which we're no longer going to do, at least right now. So I've put some guidance on here just so you get a sense of how the plan will vary when we don't have our own plant. And we're also not we're not accelerating the development as much as we planned when we had no limitations on our capital in a few years ago. So we've got more of a steady ramp up that's going to take longer, but it costs us a lot less upfront. So it's a big benefit, again, from the point of view of no further dilution required. All right. As much as the mining and going into production excites me, the exploration at Bethania excites me even more. And the fact that we can, potentially be doing this exploration through cash flow that we generate internally is even more exciting, because that gives our shareholders huge per share leverage to the exploration that we're going to do. So this is our entire resource is located on that rectangle there, or sorry, triangle, the red triangle. So this is the hill that Bethania's on in long section. And so there's your 14 million ounces. Now there's several million ounces that have been mined out of that block as well by previous mining. And then on top of that, we have actually made some discoveries since we calculated the resource. So that block is somewhere, pushing 20 million ounces in terms of, Mother Nature's endowment there. And it's completely open at depth. This system looks like it's, as good, if not getting richer at depth, at least from our deeper drilling that we've done. And so, something like doubling that at depth is not out of the question. Obviously, we have to drill that and prove that in the coming years. All of our drilling to date's been from surface. Our next program will go underground and drill deeper. However, along strike, we've made a number of other new discoveries here. So there's this hilltop here, which looks like it's like a bit of a barren cap. But then on the other side of the hill, we're getting another kind of cluster of veins or swarm of veins that are undoubtedly all linked up here as one vein system. Some of these veins have been very, very rich at surface. In fact, we have our highest grade surface sample ever here on the Santa Elena vein, 91 ounces per ton silver and 5 grams gold. And so that's the type of stuff that we're seeing on the other side of this hill. It's only 500 meters away from the mine. And that's an obvious place to expand off to the east as well. And it's still open to the east, by the way. We just haven't done any further work there. And then if we zoom out, so Bethania now that entire cross section is on this part of the diagram. So that you've got the main mine there. There's just more red on the main mine just because we've done more work there. You've got the hilltop zone on the other side of the hill over here. That we think all connects up into one deposit essentially. And then we've got these two other zones that we've done mapping and sampling at surface. Those are both two other artisanal mines that we acquired. The main one, Carmelitas Main, and then a smaller one up here, but actually the exploration potential maybe looks even better. So if you add the two Carmelitas zones together, you get about the same strike length as we have at the main Bethania mine. So if we can get, something in the order of, 40, 50 million ounces at Bethania, we could potentially double that again here. So we really, without going further afield to those other red targets that I mentioned earlier, we are really looking at a camp here that's got, potential for, over 100 million ounces. Arm waving, I realize, but, you want that potential if you're an investor. All right. Our Silver Kings project, has amazing potential, and I think we really broke through on that project this past year when we made a new discovery, a blind discovery. This is a rich mining camp. This slide mainly goes through the history and especially with regards to what the properties that we have in Kuya. I think we've got a dominant land package here, about 30 kilometers from north to south, going from the town of Cobalt, where most of the mining occurred historically. All those red blotches up at the top there, down to the area of Silver Centered here, which was another mining town back in the early 1900s. We've done most of the work that since we've owned this project on this northern area here, which we call the Kerr project, centered around Kerr Lake. So it's about 1,000 or so of our 16,000 hectares. We like this area because we have the most data on it. It is close to some very rich historic mines, and it's close to the infrastructure, et cetera. So we like this area. Not that we don't like the rest of our property, but we've been focused here. We ended up earlier last year, after testing some targets, extending the Kerr Lake mines over here, which we had some really good results on. We decided to move up here, test a blind target. And what do I mean by blind target? I'll show you. So in the Cobalt camp, the whole area was at one point essentially underlain by this diabase, or intruded, I should say, by this diabase. This was 2 billion years ago. This would have been a flat volcanic unit spreading throughout the whole region with the older rocks both above and below it, actually. And then it's been gently folded and faulted, as you can see. So this is kind of a cartoon of what it looks like present day. Now, where the diabase is not a good host here. It's too hard. It doesn't soak up. It doesn't break enough. It doesn't soak up the silver and cobalt mineralization. So where this has been eroded away, you have, like at the town of Cobalt right here, you had the veins sticking up out of the ground. And that's where the first discoveries were made in the early 1900s. That's where almost all the mining took place in the last 100 years, is in this area here. And then the Kerr Lake area was another little window where the diabase was eroded away. And so it was very easy to find the silver veins. They were sticking right up at surface. Well, we think that those opportunities are no longer there because they were found by good prospectors and geologists over the last 120 years. However, below the diabase is pretty much untouched. And so we drilled a target below the diabase earlier last year, and this is a cross section. So the diabase is here in this pink, completely barren, but we were drilling for the contact below it, and where we intersected the contact below it and some of these structures that were leaking up to surface, we hit 15,000 grams per ton. That's 1.5% silver over 3.3 meters. That was our discovery hole. We've had a number of other over, several thousand grammer hits since then. And that's basically what we're drilling out. We're finding that although there's a couple of bigger structures that leak up to the surface, when we drill below the diabase, there's actually a whole network of veins down there. Some of them don't come to surface. And that's a good sign because that's exactly what the cobalt mines, the big mines in the area had. They're not one vein. It's a whole cluster of veins that are close enough together you can kind of mine them in one unit. And that's what we think we have there. So, and this is looking at now all this swarm. I think we've got 7 or 8 veins that we've intersected that we can map between hole to hole, that we can correlate, and several other ones that we haven't correlated yet. And then we did a big step out off to on the other side of this lake here, and we hit another vein over here. So we've potentially tripled the strike length here if this is all connected, or it could be a separate zone. We don't know yet, but that was a big, big success for us as well in the second half of the year. And now that we've, kind of cracked the code on Silver Kings, we think we can go back and find other targets or go back to other targets in the area. We've got a whole pipeline of dozens of targets that are buried below the diabase. And this would be similar to Bethania, kind of a hub and spoke model where I could see us having a few different deposits within that 30-kilometer north to south belt that we control, and one centralized mill somewhere. So to conclude, we've got 2 projects that are perfectly situated on the Lassonde curve, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. Where the most value is created the quickest in the mining sector is when you go into production, when you go from cash flow negative to cash flow positive, and also when a new discovery is made. So we've got the new discovery at Silver Kings, we've got the cash flow coming at Bethania. And other advantages that we have: high management ownership, 100% ownership of our assets, so really simple structure. Near-term producer with a ridiculously low valuation. It's sitting at around 20 million Canadian right now, if not less. There's our share structure. And I'll just wrap it up and leave time for questions.